Is your family farm's future uncertain? Silence may be the biggest risk of all. Discover how open conversations and gradual planning can secure your legacy and empower the next generation. Don't wait. Start the dialogue today. Learn more and download a transition planning checklist at fcc.ca/knowledge.
Every weekday at 10 a.m. Central, one of the personalities from Real Agriculture appears on RFDTV and Rural Radio 147's Market Day Report to shed light and insight and perspective on what is happening in the world of agriculture. Enjoy.
And with farm incomes predicted to be negative, trade deals still being negotiated, there has been much talk this week about how the Trump administration could fund an ad hoc trade mitigation payment. Host of Real Ag Radio, Sean Haney, joins us now with the latest. Sean, thank you so much for being here. As you heard, and I'm sure you were listening, all of these new aid programs that are going to be rolling out, farmers are going to be seeing more ad hoc aid throughout this year and next year to cover trade losses. What do you think?
Yeah, it sure seems so. Great to be with you here this morning. It seems very likely. You know, and history shows, if you look back at first Trump administration and into other administrations, when exports slow or there's farm profitability issues, Washington does tend to step in with emergency type programs. And this does seem like a farm profitability emergency. There's no doubt about that. We've already seen nearly $176 billion in ad hoc payments since 2018. And there's a lot of political pressure on both sides of the aisle mounting to really get some income into farmers' hands through this really tough period, especially in the back end of between now and the midterms. Can they make them whole, as we heard from President Trump there? That's a big, tall order. The bigger concern here is that this becomes the sort of a default safety net program rather than fixing some of the underlying market issues.
Yeah, I mean, the big question at this point, when we watch all this aid rolling out, how sustainable is it to keep backfilling farm income with government payments?
This is the tough part for, a lot of politicians and a lot of economists is that people are saying, hey, we need to get money in the hands of farmers, but we also know that payments like this often get capitalized into things like land values and higher input costs. And a lot of talk about high input costs as is, if payments like this roll out, it's not necessarily going to pull some of those input costs back. They can actually make it harder for young and smaller farmers to compete. I've heard that a lot in the last couple of weeks, that this creates more of a barrier. We heard the gentleman just talking there from one of the Farm Bureau states in terms of trying to get more young people to come back to the farm. This presents a little bit of a barrier in that regard. It's kind of like patching like a leaky roof with duct tape. It buys the industry time, and President Trump's talking about giving the farmers time for his trade agenda to work out. But we also heard yesterday from Senator Marshall out of Kansas that trade is not a panacea. So there's a little bit of confusing things coming out from the Republican side of the aisle here.
Yeah, and as you heard from an analyst that we had a little while ago, Garrett Toy, talking about the fact that when the markets open up and there is free trade or, there's different barriers that are removed, that maybe things can start flowing a little bit better. And until that happens, at this point, your thoughts, what alternatives should policymakers be considering instead of ad hoc programs?
Yeah, well, I think one of the big questions here, you had before me here, China providing the messaging, hey, drop some tariffs, we'll buy some soybeans. That's a little bit of a game of chicken, a bit of a war of attrition on the Trump trade agenda for sure. Some people are talking about, programs like the CRP can reduce some of the oversupply, focuses on soil health, things like that. Farmers don't want, the reality is farmers don't want be farming the mailbox. They don't want endless aid checks. They want, fair markets, better infrastructure, and policies that really reward adaptation and not dependency. But right now, this is a super challenging time, and it seems very likely we're going to have some sort of ad hoc programming. Where the funds come from, that's still yet to be determined. Maybe they will be tariffs, maybe they won't be, but there's probably money coming.
Yeah, and well said. They just want to do their job, and they want to make sure that they get that commodity out there. Sean, thank you so much. Host of Real Ag Radio. That is Sean Haney. You want to catch Sean on the show, 4:30 p.m. Eastern weekdays, Rural Radio.
Send us your feedback on that bit by sending me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com, or call the Real Ag feedback line, 855-776-6147.